Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Good morning, everyone. Welcome.
We're starting to stream in some comments, and from YouTube, Sammy Kamal says, let's get the likes, everybody. Show support, please, as one Lucid family. Goonies never say die. And he says, keep adding to your Lucid positions. Everyone stay focused, be disciplined, hard work, and dedication. I think the shares this morning are around 270 or something like that.
274.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to have dropped a lot with Lucid getting into that trademark dispute on the name Gravity.
Oh, I didn't hear about that. What's that all
I
about?
didn't hear that either.
Yeah, Lucid is in a trademark dispute. There's a company that has Gravity Motors, and they have a vehicle that they call the Gravity. It's been a rideshare vehicle, basically a taxi.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it looks like they haven't really, Lucid says they haven't had this taxi out in the marketplace for probably 5 or 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So they own and have the trademark for Gravity. Gravity Motors is disputing that with the U.S. Trademark Office. This is part of the details as to why Lucid said in their most recent earnings call that there may be some trademark issues that they got to work through.
Interesting. This is reminiscent of the Tesla fiasco, where Elon really wanted sexy as a vehicle lineup. And when he went to call his vehicle the Model E, Ford raised their hand and said, that's our trademark. So Elon, being somewhat dyslexic, said, all right, we'll make it 3.
Yes.
And it worked out perfectly.
Yes. So it's it'll widen its way through the courts for a little while, and I'm sure it'll get some sort of a settlement, and then everything will be fine.
Highlander's joining us. Welcome from YouTube. He says, stop driving up my Lucid stock. I need to buy more. P.S. Kindness is always free.
Good morning, Highlander.
So got an interesting report here from a Cybertruck owner. This is a rancher, farmer, right? And he says, I was a big fan of the concept of Cybertruck as a replacement for his F-150 Ford pickup truck, which he uses primarily for ranch work, including hauling, towing a cattle trailer, driving rough ranch roads, highway driving between our ranch and various towns. He wanted to also convert to an EV truck so he could power it on excess solar energy because they're running a large solar operation on his ranch. And so his questions were, how would it handle heavy loads? How would it drive? Is steer-by-wire all it's cracked up to be or just hype? Would it be hard to maneuver? How well would the giant single wiper work? I have that question as well, by the way.
Yes, absolutely.
You could probably wipe a waterfall with that. Would it be comfortable? Would it handle well off-road? Is the yoke steering wheel easy to use or not? Well, here's his report. He says, I've been driving it and putting it to the test for about a week. That isn't long, he realizes, but it's far longer than most reviewers out there have driven a borrowed or rented Cybertruck.
Which is true. I went out and started to look up reviews, and the vast majority of the reviews are, we've had it for an hour to we've had it for 2 days.
Right. And the rentals are probably expensive. So he says the steer-by-wire technology is outstanding. It turns easily in tight places, and I can attest to that. Remember my U-turn story?
Yes,
I
do.
expected my personal racetrack here, to which is usually roadsters, to have difficulty making that U-turn on the end of Deer Valley here. And it turns out the Cybertruck actually outperformed the Tesla Roadster, which is much shorter and smaller.
Yeah, it was surprising and really pleasing to hear that.
He says it turns easily in tight places, and yet highway driving is pleasurable. The full-size truck bed, he says, is also larger than his F-150, and it has a far larger load capacity of 2,500 pounds. The towing capacity is also a big improvement over his F-150, and the adjustable suspension gives him much better clearance for off-road use.
What I don't understand, and Aaron, you might be able to describe, why do people like the 5.5-foot truck bed?
I have no idea.
I think it's because they're not planning on using it as a pickup truck. It's just the notion of a pickup truck that's intriguing. But you're right.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
I think it got popular because, especially out here in Arizona, where you can custom build a lot of homes,
Right.
you could still, with a shorter bed on an F-150, you can still have a 4-door. You have somewhat of a bed, and you can barely squeeze it into some garages out here. The older homes you can't, but some of the newer ones that have extended garages, you can make them fit. So I think that's how they got a little bit more popular. Also, I believe the wheelbases are a little bit shorter on those, so they're a little easier to maneuver. When you start to get to the 6 and 8 foot beds, the wheelbase is usually a little bit longer, and turning radius gets cut, down pretty good.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can attest to that. I have a 96 Chevy that I own and I will probably never get rid of. It has an 8-foot bed and it does have a turning radius.
Mm-hmm.
That's about all I can say.
So this rancher continues. The inside is spacious and very comfortable. The ventilated seats keep the temperature perfect, both heat and cold. I'm a big guy, he says, and this is the most room I've ever had in a driver's seat. My backseat passengers have reported that it's roomy and comfortable there as well. He says the stainless steel exterior is extremely scratch resistant. He says his previous ranch trucks have all gotten desert pinstriping from all the thorny branches along our ranch roads. Stainless steel, he says, has no such problem. It cleans up easily and quickly, and it looks great to him. He says there were no issues of build quality on my truck. The alignment of all the panels look great. There's one thing that isn't working properly, and I have an appointment with Tessa to fix it. It's the manual switch on the bed that operates the tonneau cover, but it does operate from the screen, so it's a temporary annoyance, which will get repaired.
Mm-hmm.
On rough ranch roads, he said the truck handles great. The adjustable air suspension easily changes, and I can set it to auto lower for easy entry and exit, which is reminiscent of when I drove it, when Dr. Larson said, hey, if you want to get in, I'm going to lower it. He had the key fob, and it comes down about 6 to 7 inches or so you can get up in the truck easier.
Yeah, that's a great feature for that.
He says, and my total charging cost has been $0. We run our ranch 100% on solar power, and we produce more energy than we use. I'm very happy to be using some of that extra energy to power my ranch pickup now.
I really like this particular account. This is one Tesla Cybertruck driver's personal testimonial account of what he's seeing.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about how he hasn't used it for towing yet, but he really intends to. The very practical. Hey, the bed's bigger. It's a 6-foot bed. It's actually bigger than most of these other pickup trucks. He likes that.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the vehicle is so polarizing in its design, it just means everyone has some opinion on it. You don't drive down the road, see a Cybertruck, and not form some sort of an opinion.
Right.
Where most other cars you do. I noticed that Business Insider, because like you said, I was reading reviews. I needed to find out how many people have reviewed this, how long have they had, and the Business Insider did something that I thought was unusual and kind of smart. They did a review of the reviewers.
What did they
kind of
come
a
up with?
meta review.
Yeah.
And they came up with a couple of common threads. Reviewers are either predisposed to like the Cybertruck or hate the Cybertruck because everybody has an opinion already, and they're simply writing the review to confirm the opinions that they had before they got it.
Okay, fair enough.
So confirmation bias.
Right.
They also said most reviews talk about the stainless steel. It smudges, it gets fingerprints, but it doesn't get heavy damage. It attracts too much attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing that most reviewers have said. I get more attention than I want. Ladies talking about not being able to get in and out of their Cybertruck very easily because so many people want to look inside the truck when she opens the door. She had this one reviewer. She's like, I have to get out and close the door really quick, otherwise I have this gaggle of people coming up around me wanting to look inside my car.
Interesting. Swarming. Yeah.
Yes, kind of swarming. So,
the other thing that I find about this particular review is ranchers usually have more than one vehicle. It's not your average, urban type, usage. We're talking tractors and, construction equipment, perhaps. And he sounds a little bit older, too, so he's probably driven a lot of different types of vehicles. So just from that standpoint, I think that what he's he has some credibility, in my opinion.
I feel like the same.
Yeah. So it looks like Instagram. We've got Mustak50 says hello. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Highlander says it fits in the garage. That's a good thing as
Yeah,
well.
that's that's definitely a reason for the shorter beds. Yep.
Yeah. And then Highlander also says the minivans and trucks are designed for all 4 by 8 sheets of plywood. That's the standard. Okay.
And for the bigger bed vehicles, that has been the standard. Highlander also says, are you guys going to mention Sandy's getting 2 trucks?
He's already got them. Highlander. I spoke to him last week, actually, and he said that he has to be very careful because in order to maintain the aura of credibility, he has to buy everything, even though people may offer him free items to review. That creates some bias,
Sure.
you know. And but he did buy both of his Cybertrucks. The only issue with that was there was a long waiting list, and I think once Tesla found out that he was going to do this teardown, and he's friendly with Tesla, they ended up making sure that he got his trucks.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. He says, TikTok, Van Goat Wagon's with us. How are you? I reviewed it and gave it 4 goats out of 5. Okay.
Van Goat, I'd love if you could send us either your review or a link to your review if you have it online. That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm. So another article here is, did you know that in 1884, the first standard electric car produced in the world was introduced and was able to be reproduced and sold to the public? We got a picture that goes with that, Jesse. It's called EVs. And it's definitely one of those period pictures. They say, this is one of those did you know type articles, apparently. Yeah, there we go. You see them all charging there. It looks like they buried the DC charge cables in the floor of this
This is not AI, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I did not create it.
I
Let's put it
question
that
everything
way.
these days.
Yeah. Good point. No, it's too imperfect, I think, to be AI if you look at some of this.
Actually, I think this is a Chicago depot. These are electric trucks, delivery trucks that were owned by a company in 1907, and it's actually a somewhat well-known picture of these trucks charging in their DC ports, and they would charge overnight and then do their deliveries the next day.
Fascinating. You know, we spoke in the last podcast about the first EV created by a Scottish inventor.
Yes.
1837 or something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I was blown away.
Yeah. And you wouldn't have cables like this with that vehicle because those batteries were not rechargeable.
Correct.
They were one-use batteries. Of course, it got very expensive because you had a lot of battery you had to replace each time.
Absolutely.
So this did you know continues. He says, did you know that at the beginning of 1900, 1/3 of all vehicles on the road were electric?
I did not. I can't say I'm surprised.
They say they began to disappear rapidly around 1920 with the introduction of gasoline and Henry Ford. And you had some comments about that as well.
I did a little bit of looking because we've talked in the past about this and have really emphasized how Henry Ford and his Model T produced a car that could go longer, drive faster, and was only 1/3 the cost, and that was kind of the reason for the transition from EVs to ICE vehicles. And what I've found since is that, yes, EVs were slower. Yes, EVs tended to have less range. There are a couple of other things that are as important or even more important than Henry Ford's Model T. First, electricity was generally not available in the rural United States anywhere outside of large cities until the mid-1930s. It took Franklin D. Roosevelt and the New Deal to create enough incentives for electric infrastructure to be built out into rural areas. So for people who were rural, who would potentially need cars the most to travel long distances, their choice wasn't electric versus gas-powered. Their choice was, do I get a car or do I not? And if I do, I'm going to have to get gas-powered because there's no electricity available.
There's a Model T.
Oh,
There you
we
go.
Yeah.
The other choice was that cheap oil, very inexpensive oil in large quantities, was discovered in Texas in 1901, and it started to come to market about in mass about 10 years later. And so the price of the fuel for the vehicles was so much lower for gas-powered cars than for electric-powered cars that it made it kind of a non-choice as well.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the final wrench was the crank starter going away with with the Bendix electric starter.
Absolutely. That had a lot of influence in it. It made it because electric vehicles were known as a woman's vehicle. Women had very little say in society. So gas became a man's vehicle, and men were the ones that made the decision.
So here's another interesting tidbit in this. Did you know this article? The creator of the first hybrid car, it shocked me. Ferdinand Porsche was the founder of the eponymous sports car, produced an electric vehicle called the P in 1898 before creating the world's first hybrid offering, which was driven by both electricity and a combustion engine.
I did not know that. That one completely surprised me.
And then they also offered later this was Mercedes-Benz, offered an electric model called the Mercedes Mixte in 1906.
Here's an image.
Oh, there you go.
1898.
They say that this car was adopted as a taxi in the cities and even became a race car in 1907.
So that is a Porsche Model P right there.
That's the P, okay.
And there's the electric motor. I'll be darned.
Fascinating history. And then, of course, everything died for, 70, 80 years or so and started up again with the EV1.
I learned that General Electric in the mid-1960s did produce an electric prototype vehicle. It just never made it out into the mass market.
Really?
So the EV1 was more of a mass market vehicle than the General Electric one, and it was largely legislation. The U.S. Congress passed legislation for research for electric vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
President Ford at the time vetoed the legislation. Congress overrode the veto, and that provided the funding to General Motors to be able to produce the EV1.
Fascinating, yes. All right. I'm going to let you read that.
So Thomas Curtis, Kia Ora from Aotearoa.
Aotearoa, okay.
So thank you. Welcome back, Thomas. It's been a little while since we've heard from you, and glad to see it. And I had to learn how to pronounce Aotearoa.
Uh-huh. Well, I did a great job.
Then Highlander on YouTube asking if that was the Detroit Electric. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. Good research project there for us. So there was a Geneva Auto Show recently, and Lucid took their Gravity SUV to Europe. Do we have a picture of that? No, I don't think we do. All right.
I'll find one.
All right. And so anyway, Lucid Motors gave that continent the first look at Gravity SUV in Geneva, Switzerland, which boasts a range of about 430 miles and can seat 7 adults. It was, I saw one actually at the Lucid Family Day a month and a half or so ago out in Casa Grande here, Arizona. And the reason I was invited, being a Tesla faithful, was because my son works for Lucid.
Yes.
And he was able to bring family, and of course, he brought his father and his mother. But it was an interesting vehicle. What fascinated me more than anything about that family event was they had tours of the factories, 2 of them, and walking through AMP1, it was a mind-blowing experience in terms of size, scale. And the most important thing for me was it an actively functioning plant? And even though this was on a weekend,
Sure.
you could tell there was no dust anywhere, no cobwebs anywhere. You could tell that HR was active in all of the different areas. They even had flat screens with pictures of the employees in particular areas. They were team pictures, It looked like these guys were poised and ready to go into some real serious high volume production.
That is
I got it on their Twitter account.
it's so impressive to see, and that gravity is just what a car.
There you go.
It looks so well refined already, and it's a prototype car. I'm interested to see. I have not seen it yet. I'm interested to see how it compares size-wise with some of the other SUVs, crossover style SUVs that are out there. The fact that they say it can seat 7 people comfortably makes me think that it's going to be on the larger size, more like the Volvo EX90 or like the ICE vehicle, the Chevy Tahoe or GMC Yukon or Ford Expeditions. And if so, it fits in their price range as well.
Well, yes, very much so, and that's I think that is the primary value in this vehicle is that it puts them into a price range that is more acceptable to the communities, the EV communities.
Right. And there are a lot of people that clamor for the really inexpensive EVs.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got one coming up too.
We do later on, yeah, BYD. But one other vehicle that was in Geneva that I found noteworthy there was a tiny EV called the Microlino Light.
Yeah, it's this blue one, right?
That's
the
right.
blue one, yeah. This thing from nose to tail is 8 feet and 2 inches.
It's like a smart car.
Yeah, or
It's smaller than a smart car, I think.
4 feet wide, 4 feet 11 inches high, and just under 1,300 pounds. This is what the college guys used to have fun with when a car was parked that was that light. They would flip it around, do a 90 on it or something.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the Volkswagens were pretty handy with that because they had those bumpers that had the bars on top, easily grabbed, 4 guys could take something like that and flip it around easily. They say that this one is almost as ridiculous as the Citroen Ami. I don't know about ridiculous, but for a single, commuter vehicle, I'm not sure there's anything wrong with this.
We know the Solos we saw are almost that size. They're not that much bigger.
Yeah.
No, they're not. And while this car only goes about 25 miles an hour, so it precludes it from being a Phoenix car potentially.
Yeah.
It does not preclude it from being a good city car. You go to the denser, older cities, especially out on the East Coast, and you're going to find there are many streets. You can get all through the city and have 25 mile an hour speed limits.
Yeah. Yeah. Sun City, for example, would be a great car for.
It would be.
They drive golf carts out there.
Yeah.
This would lose the race to some of the golf carts they have, though.
Everybody goes slow. For those of you unfamiliar with our region here, Sun City is a retirement community built by Del Webb in the 50s was when they started. And there are actually HOA rules there. You can't be over or under a certain age and live there.
55.
55, is that what it is?
Yeah, at least one resident of the house has to be at least 55 years old, and nobody under 18 is allowed to live there.
Interesting, yeah. So driving there is an experience.
Oh, yes, it definitely is. This would fit right in with those, though. It's about the size of a golf cart. It goes about the speed of a golf cart.
Yeah.
It is U.S. legal.
It is. Okay, that's important.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be U.S. legal, but it definitely is.
TikTok, Richards_bad advice says, why are they wearing sunglasses indoors? So that's the first sunglass question. Richard, we get a lot of those, and we will have a reveal at some point in time why sunglasses are usually involved in Gruber Productions. In the meantime, just enjoy. Put on your own sunglasses. You may see why we're doing this. And by the way, while we're talking about sunglasses, the picture behind us, we try very hard to use artificial intelligence images with our green screen. Takes me to another subject. Instagram, you're seeing green screen. You got to go to YouTube to get the full experience. We haven't solved the green screen problem yet. But anyway, the picture behind us is a real Cybertruck image because artificial intelligence does not know what a Cybertruck is.
Yeah. I just grabbed this is an old one from Unplugged. They made this kind of custom utility Cybertruck. I thought it went well with the whole ranch concept.
Yeah. So there are 3 takeaways with AI use, our AI use. First of all, if you're trying to get humans, you're usually going to get 6 fingers. And
Yes.
if you're trying to get text in there, it's going to misspell virtually everything that you try to have it render.
In some AIs, at least, yes.
And it does not know what a Cybertruck is, despite the whole world showing Cybertruck images. So AI large language learning models have not yet caught on.
This is an interesting Cybertruck too, and something I learned this week. I'll see if I can point this out. Right where my finger's at.
Yeah.
That's the headlight. Not.
Oh,
that.
yes. Okay.
That is simply a light bar. The true headlight that's supposed to illuminate your
Yeah.
roadway is that right there.
I did not know that. I saw a Cybertruck on the way home Friday afternoon. He was over in the far left third lane, and I had my Roadster. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I got alongside him? But anyway, that light bar on top was completely illuminated all the way around the front of the vehicle. So that's not the headlight. It's going to be the lower portion.
Yeah, the lower portion is the headlight. It's supposed to be brighter LED. And surprise to me, it's that I had read an article on Cybertruck, and somebody was having problems seeing at night in their Cybertruck. Their headlight was rapidly growing dimmer, and they didn't know why until they pulled over, got home and pulled into their driveway, came out, looked at the Cybertruck. Those headlights are in kind of a pocket, and
Yeah.
they were driving it while it was snowing.
Oh, okay.
And the
it
headlight
filled up.
got filled up with snow because
Okay.
it's an LED headlight. It doesn't have enough heat to keep the snow melted.
Good point. Yes.
And so they were saying, Tesla, you're going to have to figure this one out. I'm sure somebody aftermarket will come up with a clear lens or something that you can put on it that looks really slick.
Yeah. TikTok Van Goat says Richard's bad advice. He's talking to the previous comment. And the answer why the sunglasses are involved is because the future is bright. Yes.
That's a good reason. On TikTok, user with a whole bunch of numbers after it. What car are you talking about? We were talking at the time about the Lucid Gravity and about the micro Lionel light.
Right. Sammy Kamal with YouTube says they should race the Cybertruck in Gravity when it comes out. The way about the same. Oh, they weigh about the same. Okay. Should make a good race. Only if the Cybertruck is pulling a Gravity at the same time that it's racing.
Exactly.
Then it would be
Exactly.
to be consistent.
Did you see did I ever show you, Pete, the video where the Cybertruck raced the Ford Raptor, and the Ford Raptor was on asphalt, and then the Cybertruck was on dirt, and it won like multiple times?
It won even though it was on dirt.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had not seen that.
And
I'm
they
not
beat it in
surprised.
braking too. They did a braking test after that, and it much better.
Highlander says, Corey Steuben's anyone? Corey, of course, was instrumental in the creation of Munro and Associates. Was there many years, and he is now working for Lucid.
Well, the creation of Monroe Live, their YouTube channel.
Right,
Yes.
right.
You know, Sammy Kamal talks about one of the TV shows that I remember watching earlier a few years back. Steve Urkel, Family Matter, not. I don't remember the name of the show right off the top
Family
of my
Ties?
head. Family
Matters?
Ties.
One of those?
It's
Yeah,
either
one of
Family
those.
Ties or Family Matters. I don't remember which one. He says it's from Family Matters. TV show drove the little blue car.
Okay.
This is not the same blue car, but it is almost the twin to the one that he drove.
Very cool. Sammy Kamal says, keep the shades on, guys. That's your trademark. You're right.
Thank you.
And Highlander, commercial time, gang. You guys have a commercial there with, there you go. Mark's going to do it today.
Some sunglasses.
Yeah. Oh no, you're on
Okay,
it, Cass. I'll be your model.
She has a mic today. So,
I do have a mic.
And it works.
Oh,
So
this is me trying to think
I'm
of
going to do the
something.
close-up. I do the,
yeah, get a good close up of this.
There we go.
We've got.
All right. Okay. So I went to a motorcycle event this past weekend, and before the motorcycle event, I had my sunglasses on under my helmet. And on the way to it, the sun obviously set. And as soon as I got there, what do I do with my sunglasses? I put them in my handy dandy little sunglass case. It's very nice. It's made of leather. It's very soft. It's magnetic as well. It's got our Gruber logo on it. You can even customize it for your favorite Roadster VIN. We've got a couple of different colors as well. That red one is actually my favorite one. And you could use code Aaron for a discount.
10% off.
10% off. Unfortunately, there's still not a code CAS, so I'm just gonna go.
I'll make that today.
Go
We don't
ahead
need
and
one.
cry over in the corner.
You know, I've been using this particular sunglass case now for, almost a year. It looks as good as it did when it was new. It just isn't wearing at all. And I carry it around everywhere. There's a little tiny dark spot where the magnet attaches. And that's the only only sign that it has had any use at all.
Very durable.
Very durable. And these are some of the softer, these are not the hard glass. These are the polycarbonate lenses that tend to get scratched more easily. No scratches at all on these.
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of the group that does the song? It's a family affair. I know you young guys probably don't know this, right?
Oh my goodness.
Well, yeah, the
Go
reason I bring that
Sly
up.
and the Family
Sly
Stone.
and the Family Stone. There you go. You nailed it. All right. He did it.
Yeah, Google didn't help me at all with that one.
The sunglass holders, we should probably, open that subject at some point, is made by Mark Schaffner's family.
Yes.
And they are leather pros. And tell us a little bit about what got you so good with doing leather like this.
Well, my son had a Bible of all things that was the cover was starting to come off. He'd only had it for about 4 or 5 years, and he said, "I want to have a nice cover put on this Bible, and I want it to be able to last for the rest of my life."
Okay.
He went out online, checked to see what was out there, found out that it was going to cost anywhere from $400 to $600.
Ooh.
Yeah. And he was going to have to send his Bible off and might get it back 9 months later or so.
Wow.
So he's like, for that kind of cost, I'll bet I could do that myself.
There's a market there. Is what
There's
he
a
said.
market
Yeah.
there. There's a market there. I helped him do some research, and we found out that, the only people who do leather working for book covers or Bible covers or stuff are small 1 and 2 person shops. There's definitely a huge market out there. And so he learned how to do the leather binding for his Bible. He now runs a business that he calls it Schaffner Co. He does leather rebinding for Bibles and for other books. And it's his full-time job. He does it regularly. His sister, Megan, his mom, my wife, I sometimes work with the business and help them out. His wife is in the business. It's grown into quite a thing.
Amazing.
And so they put out somewhere between 30 and 50 Bibles a month. They will take and rebind them in the full leather hide like this. And they also do other things like the sunglass cases.
And you know what? The other thing that came to mind for me was that's a sign of character, somebody that has a well-worn Bible.
Oh, yes.
There you go.
Oh, yes. And we're starting to get pictures back of people who've had their Bibles for a couple years. The
Right.
covers change in color, and they get what's called a patina because they're used over time. And so it's fun to hear the people's stories and see the things that go on.
Well, we thought you might like to hear the rest of the story regarding the sunglass cases. YouTube Highlander says, "I'm not buying my sunglass a holder until I get a code class, LOL."
Oh, so
Code cast, yeah.
Code
Class.
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 Yeah, well,
That's
I
a
will
new
make
one.
that code.
I've never been called class before.
You're plenty classy.
so on X, Clippo has joined us. Says he loves the Cybertruck. Customize that to the max.
And they do. They're wrapping them, I think the latest one I saw was kind of a camo wrap that the Silicon Valley group did. And they have a video actually got posted a couple of days ago, and they're showing the amount of attention this thing gets. I mean, it's really unsafe when you think about it, because you're driving down the street. Not only are the pedestrians on the sidewalks flipping around, taking pictures, but people driving. So we don't know how long the celebrity status with the Cybertruck is going to last.
We've seen more of them popping up too, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
You've
we
seen one.
definitely are.
Aaron saw one in his neighborhood. They're all over.
And someone was saying there's certain states where the allocation is higher than others. Arizona is one of those. California's one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Texas, yeah.
We'll see one.
Texas,
I have to admit, my favorite wrap still is the Cybertruck prototype that was wrapped to look like a Ford F-150.
Okay.
That was just that was humorous and really a well done wrap job.
There you go. That
So
one's
yeah, on TikTok, Van Gogh. Mark is a good father. Thank you, Van Gogh. I
Gogh.
really appreciate the compliment.
So Microsoft AI discovers 18 new battery materials in 2 weeks. And it needed just 80 hours, this headline says, to do something that would normally take years. And we've been suspecting that with the augmentation of AI entering various disciplines, that we're going to get new discoveries
Yeah.
at a much more rapid pace than we have before, because the amount of innovation that's available now has just gone on steroids. What they're using apparently is they were using AI and cloud computing. Microsoft was able to identify promising new battery materials for the Department of Energy, DOE, in a fraction of the time it would normally take. Of course, the challenge is batteries are an essential part of the clean energy future. We need them to power electric vehicles and to store energy from solar and from wind. Currently, they say lithium-ion batteries are our best option for both of these uses, but they aren't ideal because lithium is relatively scarce, it's also expensive, and the metal is often unethically mined using child labor and environmentally destructive processes. Picture those brine ponds in Bolivia. They go for acres and miles, drying water. What happens to that land after you've got this brine and you've extracted the lithium?
Well,
It's not suitable for growing crops from that point.
Yeah, and it may be hundreds of years before all the salts and chemicals from that brine get leached into the soil enough for it to be able to grow any kind of plant again.
Right. They talk about identifying better battery materials is a time-consuming process. It's always trial and error. And this is according to Vijay Murugesan, who's the head of the Material Science Group of DOE's Pacific Northwest National Lab. Using a combination now of AI models and cloud computing, the tech giant Microsoft simulated potential chemical combinations for batteries, starting from a list of 32.6 million materials. You can't do that in a human-based research lab.
No.
At least not within 80 hours, right? So within 80 hours, they identified 18 promising candidates for new battery materials, and they're pretty excited about that. And that's, of course, not the only advance that we're going to see.
No, my initial question was how? But then you think about it. We've talked, if you go out and you read tech articles, you've seen that computers are really good at brute force processing. You're supposed to have long passwords because a short password through what's called a brute force attack, where a computer simulates every possible combination of a short password, can figure out your password, usually within a few seconds. And it made me realize that we can do that here too. What they're talking about is simply a brute force attack on all the different combinations of chemicals that could possibly be used in batteries. We've already got the characteristics of chemicals that work well in battery applications and characteristics of ones that don't. We already have a list of characteristics for virtually all known chemicals or elements in the periodic table. So you blend those together. Sure, you have millions of combinations, but you have enough base information that you can feed that into AI, and AI can do in a few hours what it's going to take probably decades of trial and error to do.
Sure. And of course, innovation is not assembling what we already know, it's what we don't know. And AI is able to do that on the order of millions of different examples or data sets.
Right. AI is not producing anything potentially new here. That's the important part. AI is simply synthesizing all of the data that it already has to come up with potential things to look at. Now it's going to be up to people to look at those things, and I'm very impressed with Microsoft.
Well,
here.
one thing, guys, too, just to keep in mind that it would be able to do. So, like you said, it could take a decade or more to do this in a lab. Well, in the lab, scientists they have their control variables that they know these are the variables we're going with. In these simulations for AI, it can have any infinite number of variables. It can come up with all these additional variables that either the scientists weren't testing for or they didn't even think of.
That weren't conceived. Yes.
Yeah.
Fascinating. A few more comments coming in. All right. YouTube Highlander, he says, dirty Tesla out of Michigan. Got the first one. Sandy got the next two. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Highlander, for that information.
Scott Eichner says, you guys might consider developing a custom ultra-high mileage Prius. Wow.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, think about it. You've got the gasoline engine. The Prius has a fairly small battery pack. You could supercharge or supersize that battery pack so that instead of 20 to 30 miles of range, you have maybe 300 miles of range. Plus, you have the engine to use every once in a while if you need it. That's an interesting thought.
Sure. If you want to pollute a little bit, you go back to the engine.
Yeah.
YouTube, Kim Estrie. Welcome, Kim. She says, I can't even figure out my own password, so she needs brute force software AI.
Absolutely,
she
does. That's okay. Me too, Kim.
Yeah. I keep mine simple. Should I reveal that?
You're okay now.
Okay.
Just don't say what it is.
Yeah. TikTok, Cyber Beast is joining us. Thank you. He says, 2,000 miles on my Cybertruck in less than a month. Can't stop driving this thing.
Cyber Beast, we'd love to hear more on some of the details of what you've liked and what you haven't liked on your Cybertruck so far.
Totally. All right. I'm going to go to a Tesla takeover in Europe, Austria, actually. And this is running on the weekend of May 25th and 26th in Flachau, Austria, which is just outside of Salzburg. It's a ski resort area. And the previous 3 Tesla takeovers were actually in California, and they became very successful. This will be the first one in Europe. And they have a number of car clubs. I don't have the picture here, but in the Roadster podcast, we're going to talk about the various European car clubs that will be joining this.
I'll pull it up.
There are about 24 of them. Yeah, let's pull that up. It is, they expect 1,000 Teslas. And bear in mind that this is one of the most beautiful parts of the world. It's in the Alps, alpine lakes, alpine, crag-type mountains, covered, snow-covered, rolling grassy hills with cows grazing. Absolutely beautiful. And, of course, a very clean and pristine environment, which definitely lends itself to the type of transportation that this is attracting. So for those of you interested, 25th and 26th of May, there will be workshops. There will be guest speakers. There will be entertainment. They will have zip lines and toboggans and things to do for the family. And as always, this is Austria. Lots of good food, lots of good beer. And it should be quite an event. So for those of you in any of the EV communities, especially Tesla, this might be worth something attending for you. See if there's anything I left out. Oh, live music as well. Light shows. Okay. And so they say, what are you waiting for? Let's meet in Austria May 25th and 26th and celebrate the biggest Tesla event of the year together. You can get your tickets, by the way, at teslatakeover.eu. And a lot more information about the influencers and the speakers.
Here's all
there we
the
go.
Info teslatakeover.eu.
I found it was interesting that 16 different speakers. They've got photos of every one of them. Looks like there's only one speaker who has sunglasses on.
Who might that be?
Well, that might be Mr. Gruber himself. Yes, you got a good picture sitting back with your with your sunglasses. But we've got Tesla Boomer Mama coming.
Yep.
John Stringer from the Tesla Owners Group in Silicon Valley,
Oh, man.
among others. And so there looks like a good group of speakers, a lot of well-known people and enthusiasts, especially over in the Europe market.
And in the U.S., they had May Musk, and also Sandy Munro. I talked to Sandy last week, and I said, "Are you finally going to meet me at one of these events where we can go and have that beer that we've been talking about?" And he said, "No, I'm not going to this particular one, so it'll just be me." But this is from the U.S. event here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm imagining that the European event will be much larger, considering 1,000 cars. That's going to be a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So join us. It should be good. All right. We've got TikTok Cyber Beast. He says, it's a lot of fun talking about driving a Cybertruck. I like everything. I don't like the wireless charger. The phone overheat in minutes. I don't know what he's talking about there.
A lot of cars have a wireless charging pad, basically, for phones to sit on.
Okay.
And so
in the
this
car, yeah.
wireless, so it sounds like this wireless charger is probably putting too much current into the phone and causing his phone to overheat.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And he says, and I wish the backup camera came with a wash. It's useless in rain.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Okay.
Instead of the 4-foot windshield wiper, we're going to need a little 1/2-inch wiper for that little camera lens then.
So to have the world's largest and world's smallest wipers.
Yeah, there's an aftermarket idea for those of you that are interested in building stuff for the Cybertruck. All right. We've got a picture here, DHL Rivian van being built at the Normal, Illinois plant, at the Rivian plant. And I think Mark had some information on this.
Yeah, the DHL is moving forward with Rivian vans. I did a little bit of reading on this because this was more just kind of a headline, and the Rivian vans have been spotted at the Rivian plant in Normal, Illinois. There's a lot of speculation about what's going on, and so here's some of the speculation that I've found. First, Rivian vans are definitely confirmed on Rivian on Twitter. We don't know what kind of formal agreement they have with DHL yet. Rumor is that it could be an agreement that is as large as Amazon. What we do know is that the D500 and D700 vans, this is the D500 pictured here, the smaller one, both of these vans are gross profit positive for Rivian.
Amazing, yes.
Which is a fantastic thing. We've talked about this in the past, how these EV makers have got to figure it out. They've got to be able to make money on their cars and not spend more money making the cars than they get in revenue. Well, it just so happens that these vans are that. They are gross profit positive, and so that portends very well for Rivian to potentially make its goal of having gross profits in 2024.
And survive.
And be able to survive. So it's a great development for Rivian. And there are even rumors that DHL is pulling back on its orders of its yellow delivery vans with other suppliers.
Interesting.
And so there's that's a lot of rumors, a lot of conjecture right now, but it looks like a very good thing for Rivian. We'll keep watching in the news on what comes out for this. We think that there'll be an announcement probably within the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Facebook, Gary Pugmire says, have you guys seen any of Heavy D's videos on the Cybertruck in the desert of southern Utah? It looks like the truck needs to maintain some speed for off-road applications. I have not seen them.
Yeah, I saw a couple of them. I'll see if I can find them. Like one where the truck was, I think, high-centered in a weird position, but I'll see if I can find them.
Okay. Yeah, I have not seen them myself.
TikTok, North May says, Cyber Beast, I also have that problem with my Model Y when he's four-wheeling.
Yeah. Well, I think with that rear camera is what he's talking about. Yeah.
Oh, okay. The rear camera in the rain. Yeah.
Gets rain on it, and it's hard to see or almost impossible to see out of.
I just pictured during a production process with these vehicles, You would think that they would take the vehicle through all the paces and record this kind of information. You know, we have wind tunnels.
Yeah.
They bring them to the Gobi Desert to check their resilience to excessive heat. I'm not sure how you'd miss that.
I know, because rain is such an easy thing to simulate.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
You put it into a tunnel and
A sprinkler
pour
system.
pour
Yeah.
water on it,
Right.
sprinkler system on it, and it wouldn't be that hard to do.
Or take it through a car wash. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Looks like Tesla's latest full self-driving beta, version 12.3, feels ready, provides human-like decision-making. We're going to have one of our engineers from Gruber Motor Company join us here for the Roadster podcast in about 10 minutes. You might want to stay tuned, or at least look us up at 11 o'clock.
Here's the Heavy D.
He actually drives a Model 3 that has this version, and the first thing he told me earlier this week was, I like it. It's different. It's better. So I'd like to get your inputs on that when you join us, Brad. Oh, there we go.
Interesting.
These are the guys that put the tracks on it, apparently.
Ah, okay.
So we'll have to look more into this. This is a different one than I was thinking of. There's one that has crazy graffiti all over it, and that one was out in the desert and getting high-centered and doing some off-roading. So this is a separate one.
Mm-hmm. It looks like we have some feedback about the wireless phone charging, too. Cyberbeast says it needs some ventilation or AC like the Taycan.
Or that totally makes sense. You know, I watched a video on the FSD. Somebody had taken a video, posted it online, showing how it was polite.
Really?
And what it was, 4 lanes of traffic coming up to a stop, and the car was going to be turning right, so it was in the right-hand lane. FSD noticed that there is an ingress, basically a parking lot driveway coming out into traffic. And since there was a car parked at the far end of that driveway, it left the driveway open, which is polite protocol.
Right.
The car pulled out, and then it pulled up into its spot, and the light turned green shortly after. I was actually pretty impressed to see that level of sophistication in self-driving.
So it reinforces the fact that they were observing the best human drivers and then adopting some of those techniques.
Yes, and that's what the traffic manuals and training when you're a kid, they tell you you're supposed to do is if everyone stopped in front of you, you're supposed to leave that space open so people can get out.
Sure. What they mentioned in this article is that improved handling. The Tesla owner that they interviewed said that the system's improved handling of complex driving scenarios included executing perfect zipper merges in heavy traffic, to taking on unprotected turns confidently. And this version 12.3 shows refined understanding of real-world driving conditions. Remember, they got rid of hundreds of thousands of lines of code, rule-based code. You know, if you see the octagon red sign that says STOP, then this is how you proceed. Mm-hmm. What they really did was they began to simulate the best drivers in their driving pool, which, of course, is vast.
It's fascinating to see how this is developing. You know, we've seen our share of people who are really down on full self-driving. They say it's never going to work. It never has worked. Elon overpromised and underdelivered. He's supposed to have it done by 2019. Blah 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 blah. Here's the thing, though. Tesla's persistent, and as long as they continue to persevere in this particular effort, they will get it right eventually.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to start wrapping up here. We're going to start our Tesla Roadster podcast in about 5 minutes. Please stay with us or join us.
We do have a bunch of you guys joining us today on X. We appreciate you on both Pete's X account and the GMC X account. We will be back at 11 o'clock, so in about 6 minutes, 5.5 minutes, we'll be back on another stream on all our platforms.
And this one's worth watching. We're going to have one of our engineers from Gruber Motor Company come and tell us about the remote diagnosis capabilities that we use with Tesla Roadsters, no matter where they are in the world. And this particular one we're going to talk about was on an island in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story. I'm really looking forward to hearing how this story has gone. I've watched it fairly closely as it's developed.
So we'll see you in 5 minutes.
Take care.